Ukraine is a pretty big country, 45 million people. When the Russians decided to invade it on all fronts, it was clear they were taking on a pretty ambitious operation. And Western analysts said that if they're trying to invade and hold a country that doesn't want you there, the forces that they were deploying didn't really look enough. So I think what we're facing now is the problem that Mr. Putin has. If you don't win quickly, you begin to lose politically. A quick military win is what's required. If you don't get it, then the political cost mounts quite a lot. And that's where Mr. Putin probably finds himself today. So let's have a look at what's happening in Kiev, of course. Kiev is still not surrounded. And forces that are trying to get to Kiev are being attacked. Their lines of communication are being disrupted. The Ukrainians are putting up a really staunch series of attacks on those lines of communication, and they're moving really quite slowly. In Kharkiv, which should have been the most vulnerable city, right near the Russian border, quite pro-Russian in its background and history, they are still fighting in Kharkiv. It hasn't fallen. And if we now have a look at Chernihiv. In Chernihiv, this is a place that the Russians said on Friday they had taken. Turned out they hadn't. Then we thought that they were screening it so that they could move around it and carry on moving towards Kiev. But in fact, if you screen a place and move on, you've always got the danger that it will start fighting again. That seems to have happened again today. So again, their lines of communication look as if they're being interrupted. And Ivankiv, just have a look at Ivankiv, northwest of Kiev. Ivankiv, it's about 40 miles from Kiev. We have a video of an armoured convoy moving really very slowly. It's not dashing towards Kiev to complete the circle around the city. So there are some problems there. Let's have a look at down in the south. Here, the Russians are doing much better. They have taken Berdyansk, and that's confirmed by the Ukrainian government. That is their first proper military objective that they have achieved. So they've got Berdyansk. But let's have a look at this. Look at Mariupol and Kherson. They're still fighting in an area that they expected to take easily. And Mariupol was the most vulnerable of all places in Ukraine. It was right next to the separatist entity. An important port. It was already strangled as a port. The fact is, here we are on day 5. Mariupol should have fallen within hours. We don't know what's happening in Mariupol, but whatever it is, it must be quite something. When this is all over, one suspects they'll be making Hollywood films about Mariupol. The fact is, Mark, that President Putin is facing the problem that he now has. This operation should have been over in 3 days. In fact, this is day 5. For every day that the Ukrainian government is still on its feet, that's a political victory for them.
Yeah, and I mean, I assume that the nuclear talk about Putin and his defence forces on alert, nuclear alert, is posturing. But, you know, if what you say is true, then Putin will be getting pretty frustrated, one imagines. How dangerous could a frustrated and angry President Putin get?
It ratchets up the tension another notch, Mark. I mean, maybe more than one notch. But the fact is that these sorts of threats have been made before in 2008 and 2014 when Russia moved into Georgia, in 2014 in the Crimea crisis. And President Putin always meant it as a sort of symbol to tell the rest of the world, keep out. This is not your problem. This is something we're going to deal with. They always did keep out. In this case, the line is getting a bit blurred between keeping out and getting involved. So I think there's an element of desperation in what he says, but also it is dangerous because we don't really know what sort of mental state he is in. But at the moment, it's just a piece of rhetoric. But believe me, the Western nations and intelligence agencies will be watching very, very closely for any movement of nuclear warheads in or around Russia.
Yeah, it's all just so fascinating. Michael, thank you very much indeed.